drips and accessories, veterinary medication, vaccines, animal feeds, additives, drugs, biosecurity products, poultry and livestock equipment, and other agricultural inputs with nationwide delivery options. VD&S Farmer Center also offers mentorship, training, consultancy, extension services, and veterinary and regulatory. VD&S Farmer Center is located at number 19 Ajegunle Street along Ikorodu Road in Temo, Ekpe, Lagos, opposite Citizens Comprehensive Center. For more information about our products and services, please visit us at www.vdsfarmsonline.com. Now we will take a short message from our sponsor, Know Your Farm Hands, represented by Mr. Abisola Ajayi. Know Your Farm Hands, please.
Meet Ayo, a businessman with lots of stocks and investments. Amongst his properties are the hectares of land before him. As the risk taker he is, Ayo invested 50% on mixed farming, 20% on livestock production, and 30% on crop farming, all in a hope to get more returns on investments and cash out. To commence work, Ayo put out a signboard and hired anyone who looked fit and agile enough to him. It all felt like things were working out. But things did not turn out like Ayo hoped. He was spending more than he was getting, losing more than he was winning, and he questioned why. It was later revealed to Ayo that his farm hands had been duping him, stealing the produce and earning from it all. He realized it was all his fault. He had simply hired without doing any background check to determine their worthiness. Almost bankrupt, Ayo decided to quit. Later, he meets Joy, who introduces the Know Your Farm Hands app to him, and could better know his farm hands before recruiting them. Know Your Farm Hands is an application that guides a farm owner on recruitment of farm hands with reference to their previous experiences and farmers' encounters about them. Know Your Farm Hands offers seamless means of getting farm hands data before recruiting them. In it, previous employers' review of the employee are uploaded and available to new employers. Not just that, farmers can also appraise their farm hands for the benefit of other farmers that might want to employ them in the future. You can verify the experience of your about-to-be employed farm hands on the application by just searching with his first name or phone number to get all his data, including his picture, previous farm name, employer, and his review. To get started, download the application for free on Google Play Store. For more information or support, send a mail to support@knowyourfarmhands.ng or visit our website at knowyourfarmhands.ng or call 0905 399 4937 or 0705 368 0191. With Know Your Farm Hands application, Ayo could really cash out and have returns on his investment. With Know Your Farm Hands, farm owners can allay their fears about their farm hands.
Thank you so much, Know Your Farm Hands. Let's quickly go into the guidelines for this webinar. We would like to have a seamless and uninterrupted session, so we implore the host to mute all participants upon entry. Your questions, comments, clarifications, and suggestions should be typed and sent via chats. We will collate this and respond to them during the question and answer session. And if time permits, we can take 2 or 3 people to make a contribution, not longer than 2 minutes. Now let's get to the business of the day. Agricultural productivity in sub-Saharan Africa continues to lag behind the rest of the world. And this is due to many factors, among which is low technology adoptions. And this evening, we will discuss some available technologies that farmers can leverage on to boost productivity and consequently their returns. Please sit back and enjoy this informative session as we welcome our guest speaker for today, Mr. Peter Bamkoli. Peter Bankole pioneered the Enterprise Development Center of the Pan-Atlantic University in January 2003, now one of the top enterprise development centers in Africa. As the director of the center, he is responsible for the overall program development, capacity building, and support services to entrepreneurs and students across the university. Trained as a mechanical engineer in the UK with MBA from IS Business School in Spain and alumnus of Lagos Business School, the chief executive program, his 37 years cognate experience spans both public and private sectors and across the oil industry, water supply, and education. He is currently a PhD scholar at the International School of Management in Paris. He led the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Women Initiative in Nigeria and was a consultant to the project in Liberia. He initiated and led several partnership programs with diverse stakeholders, such as British Council, World Bank, International Finance Corporation, Federal Government of Nigeria in the National Business Planning Competition, UWIN, and the BIG Business Innovation and Growth, Access Bank, Stanbic IBTC, MTN, Coca-Cola Africa Foundation, and a host of other large corporates in the Nigerian SME ecosystem. He is currently leading the Transforming Nigerian Youth Initiative of MasterCard Foundation in Nigeria. Peter consults widely in sub-Saharan Africa on entrepreneurship development and practice. He currently chairs the board of Nigeria Climate Innovation Center, International Breweries Foundation, Lagos State Comprehensive Schools Program, board member at Nouvelle Real Estate Companies in Nigeria, and a member of the Lagos State Research and Innovation Council, among others. He is a member of the Pan-Atlantic University Management Council and served on the Youth Learning Advisory Committee of the MasterCard Foundation. His current interest is designing new learning methods and e-support for SMEs. Great farmers, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Mr. Peter Bankole. Mr. Bankole, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Can you share your screen? Thank you very much, Folake. Okay, let me start by warmly welcoming you all to these moments which we will be sharing together. Sorry, I'm not able to see my screen right now. Are you able to see my screen?
No, not yet.
Okay, so let me go back into. Okay. Are you able to see it now?
Yeah, yes.
Fantastic. Okay. So once again, good evening and thanks a million to VD&S for inviting me to this get-together webinar for us to share some experience around leveraging on modern tech solutions for optimal results or returns in agriculture. In the last 2 years or so, we have seen a lot of things evolve even in Nigeria. These are things that have happened in other countries, especially developing countries, where technology has been the bedrock, not just in on-farm, but also off-farm. But in Nigeria today, we've been pretty much low on the usage of tech. And what I want to share with you today is go through the entire value chain and see where we can plug in. One of the things that I'm hoping you will take away today is that leveraging on tech does not have to be very high. Some will be low tech, some will be mid tech, And in some cases, some will be high tech. But whichever way, it is important for us to introduce some kind of tech into the entire process that we are running. Otherwise, we stand the risk of being dinosaurs very, very soon. I will be sharing with you a couple of programs that we run, which we are beginning to see that young people in particular that are into agric are hacking the agro space, and they are bringing in some incredible stuff. Okay, so let's go. So the first is to talk about the background. How did we get here? What can we learn in what has happened in the last couple of years? The first thing is that in the last 2 years or so, whilst we were in the midst of the pandemic, we learned a lot of things. The first one is that despite the pandemic and the uncertainties and everything, people had to eat. And not just eating, we saw a lot of people having enough time to be able to cook. People, because they were living more or less sedentary lives at that period, they had to eat healthily. And in the midst of all of that, we conducted surveys across Nigeria. And in the survey, we found out that whilst majority of businesses had one issue or the other, those in the agriculture, food sector were more or less shielded, more or less. Some had issues, but majority were shielded because of this fact that people had to eat. But out of all of them, there were some very specific one, about 7%, who thrive exceedingly well. And we deep dive to find out what were the reasons why some people were thriving while others were crying. And there were three things that we saw. The first and the obvious one was technology. The use and the leverage on technology made a lot of difference. So whether you are in the food business or not, so long as you use technology or you leverage on technology, then you are likely going to do very well. So those in edutech, in agri-tech, health tech, all kinds of tech made a huge difference. The second one has to do with collaboration. People that decided to collaborate during that period. So restaurants that could not open, they kept their kitchens open. And once the kitchens were open, it meant that foodstuff have to move to kitchen. And as people were cooking, they were distributing them to the various buyers. So logistics had a massive strip. In fact, that was the time that all those that didn't know what to do with their staff changed majority or even opened a section or a segment of their company to do logistics. So logistics thrive. And then the third one, so there's collaboration, there is digitization, and the third one is being part of an ecosystem. When you are part of an ecosystem like this one that you're having, then they will supply you with a lot of information, with things that can help you to grow your business or at least to remain stable where you are. So digital made massive difference, and those that thrive attested to that, even though they were relatively few. Sorry. Okay. So what we're going to do is to look at all of these within the context of 5 verticals. So we're going to look at the pre-production, we're going to look at production, distribution, and storage, marketing and sales, and then after sales. These are the 5 verticals that I would like to talk through today. And then let's reflect on how we can introduce digital into every aspect of this. It doesn't mean that all of them, you must digitize them. No, but it is absolutely important that different elements, and as much as you can, because when you can, it changes your ability, it positions you better than anyone that did not even put effort into it at all. So let's start with the pre-production. For the pre-production, what we have seen is that the input sourcing is very critical. The input sourcing will change massively your ability to be productive at the end of the day. I was very happy when I was listening to the intro on Know Your Farm Hands, for instance. That's one way in which technology has been introduced at the input sourcing level, where you are looking for the labor or laborers that will work on the farm. And one of the key disadvantages is that if you do not have a means of verifying those that are coming on farm, or you do not do your due diligence very well, theft alone accounts for nothing less than 20–25% of losses in agri production. They could, in fact, if you are doing chicken and eggs, a lot of the eggs miss because of the farm hands. Sometimes if it is crop, you just see during harvest time, a lot of things just miss. And even when you are there, some of these people have perfected the art so well. So it is important that we have people that have been verified. And yeah, the app, for instance, is one way. But there are many other ways in which this can be done. But you see, somebody started to introduce digital at the beginning. So it also makes it easier for you to say, I'm in Ekpe, I need 10 people, maybe on a permanent basis, on a temporary basis, you will have access to those type of people. It could be in sourcing of your seeds, for instance. And so maybe you will have 3–4 different types of sources, and all of them will be on a particular platform. Host, can we mute people so that the noise can be lowered? Thank you. So, for instance, in Ibadan, we have Afrimash. Hello, host. Host, can you please mute all these people that are disturbing? It's difficult for others to hear. The co-host can also do muting. The co-host can do that as well. Thank you. So if you go to Ibadan, for instance, there's a company called Afrimash. They have basically digitized all kinds of input sources, from seeds to, and then they have different aspects, even to tools and implements and all of that. With your mobile phone, you can go and you can source. That saves you a lot in terms of quality, in terms of assurance, and so on and so forth. So digitalization helps to bring efficiency even at the input sourcing level. Now, technical support is also very important. And I have noticed that VD&S had quite a number of technical support when I was listening to the advert at the beginning. Now, that is very important. Download key into it. That makes life a lot easier. So and you don't have to have something too complicated. Whether it is pre or even during, we used to have extension workers. They will go to different farms at different times. All of that today can then be put on a digital platform that makes you to request for things, okay? Now, mapping and promoting the network is also very critical. And you will see as we go along why that is very important. For big buyers, they want to be sure that One, they have an organized system. Two, they want to be sure of the quality. They want to be sure of talking to maybe just to one person that represents many, rather than going to different smaller people. And I think this is one way in which VD&S can play a big role, because if I'm a big player, I would rather talk to them than talk to 52, 100 people at different times. So mapping and promoting network is something that is very viable, visible, good for the big buyers. And then the last one is that through that same process, you can begin to establish contacts with corporates. And corporates can have some kind of handshaking with you on a digital platform, so that before you even start, they will tell you all their requirements. Right now, we're doing a program, for instance, with Golden Mon. Golden Mon will then say, these are the kinds of, I need this maize, I need this type, and they'll give you the standard. So before you even start planting, you know the kind of harvest you want to have, you know the kind of people that you are targeting, you know how they're going to pay, and so on and so forth. So the pre-production level is very, very critical, because if you get it wrong at this time, then you are likely going to get it wrong all through. Technology plays a key part, as you have seen in all of this process. Then we move to the production proper. Now production, there's so many things that has to do with production, and depending on what you are doing, whether it is livestock, whether it is a crop, whatever, every aspect of them, they do have some kind of, tech introduction. So for instance, let's take livestock. With livestock, there are times when you have to introduce, the veterinary cycle, what to do, when, how. All of this can be programmed. Even the way, let's say you want to use a tractor to do your land caring for the crop. You don't need to own one. But if you have the app, you can easily call on Hello Tractor, for instance. And then just like Uber, they will come, clear up and go. So you pay a fraction rather than having to buy one second-hand tractor that you will use only for a brief while, and then for majority of the time it's just there. You are running up bills, you don't know what to do, and some people may even be stealing parts of the tractor. So what automation does for you is that it launches you into what we call the shared economy. And so you only take the little that you need, pay for it, and then you have no responsibility for the others. But then the Hello Tractor type people who rent out tools and implements, and then they then use that sharing economy to sell to as many people as possible. And that becomes a business for them that is then sustainable. The next one is quality assurance. Quality assurance is something that can also be automated. You will notice that when I talk about quality assurance, and it doesn't matter whether it is crop, livestock, whatever, all of that, there are specific outputs that we require. All of these can be programmed. How you do, in fact, in some of the farms that I've visited, but these are a little bit bigger, you could control the way in which you do your feed for the fish and so on and so forth. So that it's not, you don't overfeed them, you don't underfeed them, because the two have consequences. If you overfeed, you know that you're already losing money. If you underfeed, their growth will be stunted. So you want to be sure that you are doing it at the right pace. And so automation of the way in which you do your feed then makes a lot of difference. So no wastage, everything is controlled, quality is good, and then at the end of the day, the bottom line is also good. The variable costs are very important. This is where you can lose money easily. And today, some of them you may have control over them, some you may not. If you are, for instance, in a production process where you have to use a lot of diesel, for instance. You already know that you don't have control over it. In the last 2 or 3 weeks, diesel has been going up like every day. I think the last that I heard of was 650 or something like that. In Abuja, it's already over 700. So it depends on some that you may be able to have control. But guess what? Once diesel is going up, everything that is associated to your production is likely to go up anyway. But then what you don't want to add to it is waste. What you also don't want to add to it is theft. And so there are different ways in very sophisticated production facilities. They will even introduce things like CCTV. Perhaps your own production may not be up to that level, but then there are some very simple cameras that you can buy that can be connected one way or the other to your mobile phones. And this alone can help you in some kind of monitoring. It's a small price to pay, but it can help you, especially for remote monitoring when you are not able to go out and and you just want to know what is happening on the farm. Sometimes even for the plants, with remote monitoring, you can know when the leaves are changing color, what you need to do rapidly without getting there first. That saves you a lot, and then you can take decisions very quickly. Prior to remote sensing and monitoring, I have seen many people that had to travel far to the farm, know what is happening before going back. Even when they have farm managers there, because the farm is so big, it's very difficult to be able to monitor 100% one-on-one. But then some big, large farms have introduced not just remote sensing, but drones to fly across to see what is happening. And then as the drones fly, they can be watching the color of the leaves on the iPad. And if there's an area they notice something, then you go straight to that area rather than walking around the entire large space. So these are some of the ways in which people have used technology, at least in medium farms. When it comes to distribution and storage, this is where there is a big problem. When I was discussing with Folaka, we toyed with the idea of maybe cutting the middleman. Whilst it has its own advantage, there is a lot of risk that the middleman takes off you. For instance, if the middleman, they will pick your products from the farm gate. Now that means, and most of them will probably pay you cash at that level, despite the fact that they probably will take it at a much lower rate. But once you know the market dynamics, what is happening in the market, and this one you can know through your phone, through what is happening in the commodity markets and everything, it is then easier for you to negotiate, at least better with them. That will raise up the returns to you. I'm not suggesting in any way that they should be cut off. They do play and bring some value to the table. But when you have a mix of it, that means you're able to deal directly with corporates, buyers, or you're able to also take, give a little to the middlemen. That's okay. However, the association or the network like VD&S can also play a great role here, because you are all in it together. And the reason why you are coming together is different from what the middleman is looking at. So let's say for want of example, if middleman is going to take a 10 naira, then an association or ecosystem like this may say, let's take 5 naira, so that the farmer takes another 5 naira on top of whatever they will have gained. That way, you are all part of that ecosystem, and you will make that ecosystem to work. And somehow, you begin to give the middleman a run for their money. But at least they will provide higher value than what they currently are doing today. Then, when it comes to distribution and storage, one thing that has melted my mind is the issue of spoils and wastage. According to the research, about 50% of farm produce, especially fruit and veg, 50% of them get spoiled before they get to the table. And that's a big problem because it means that the capacity of our production is automatically reduced by half. Can you imagine if we are now able to do something in the area of storage, in the area of just managing that process? Then it means that even without additional production, we will be able to increase the products to the table. And so we've had different players in this space. People, especially in the storage. So Cold Hop, for instance, is one of them. And they have helped significantly people in the market to be able to retain value in their produce for a very small fee. And they use, of course, solar system to charge and to maintain those cold storage. You don't have to invest in it. You just need to know where it is, how it is, and be able to key into that usage. And you can even buy all of those things using your mobile app. So with your mobile app, you will see, with your mobile device, you will suddenly see that it's an investment rather than just using it to make phone calls, to watch videos and things like that. In the next 2 to 3 years, anybody that is doing business that does not have a smartphone is probably not ready for real business. That's what we're going to see. 2 to 3 years max, okay? Then on the last one on distribution and storage, I put this one as corporate deception. In fact, when I first wrote about corporate deception, I said something like, big corporates are making small businesses mad. MAD being an acronym for market access deception. So they give you this, idea that, we can grow your business because there is a lot of we can buy everybody out. And it may be true that they have the appetite to be able to buy from lots of small businesses. But when you don't pay them on time, then you kill the business and you are making them to fund you a bigger business. That's why I call it corporate deception. But not everybody play like this. There are a number of corporates, and when I say corporate now, we can even begin to move into the supermarkets where they do take farm produce, they do pay on time or within a specific time as agreed. And that in itself gives you, if you plan very well, very good cash flow. You already know as you are growing, you know where it's going. And yes, the only thing is that you have to now take a little bit more risk. So moving it from the farm to the supermarket, for instance, become your responsibility, which the middleman has taken before as his own risk. But again, no risk, no rewards. You have to dimension yourself. But what we can tell you is that all of this process are already being digitized. Even the corporate takers, they themselves, they now have a platform or systems where they say, we need 10,000 oranges over the next 1 month. We need X kilogram of cauliflower or this or that. It may interest you that I'm in Lagos here, and I get quite a lot of fruit and vegetables from Jos. And how do we do it? It's very interesting. They have good weather, they grow this thing, it's relatively cheap there. And by the time they even add the cost of getting it to Lagos, it ended up, believe it or not, a lot cheaper with what I would get it in the supermarket here. Okay, so as a customer, I have no allegiance to buying it from Lagos or they fly it from Jos, so long as I know the source is good, it's fresh, the quality is good, and the price is right. So these are some of the things we need to reflect on. Now let's go to marketing and sales. Marketing and sales. It is important. The brand building is very, very important. Very, very important. There are some places when you go, because of the way in which they have built their brand, it is very, very easy for you to key into them. And I don't want to mention any specific organization so that I'm not doing marketing for them. But when you do hear of some places, you will go there because you know that they will not sell anything anyhow to you. And that's what we call the brand building. It is possible that VD&S could do the same, I don't know, but there are some very good supermarkets in Lagos today that have already built that kind of brand. Also, service quality is very key. One of the things that we look for, especially corporate buyers, is when you say, I will deliver X by 9 a.m. tomorrow, you better get there for 8:30. And when you do that consistently, people will even pay premium for what you are doing, okay? And when they want to ask for all of this, they will not do it by calling you, looking, no. There are systems in place today where you get an automatic alert, they are connected to their ordering platform and so on and so forth. So you can't say I'm a small business. You need to definitely invest in tech because that technology is the one. And you will see that the platform is controlled by their own inventory system, inventory management system. And once it reaches a reorder level, it just sends signals to every small suppliers or vendors on the platform. And the first to say, I have, and the key into it, this is how you begin to make sales. But if you are not leveraging on technology, definitely you miss those kind of deliveries, okay? Now, in the same way, establishing credibility is very important. And in fact, I connect it with what I call third-party affirmation. So if I say to you today that, oh, we train a lot, we do this, we do that, you may believe me if you know me. But guess what? If a third party, somebody else, comes and say, the way Banky teaches, the way their company, this and that, if not for them, in fact, I don't know where I will be today. In less than a year, we double our sales in terms of profitability. We've done. And if 2-3 third-party people says that, the chances are that you are likely to believe them much more than what I would say. Not because I'm lying, but because third-party affirmation has a lot of credibility. And so you work towards getting your third party or your customers to give you what we call third-party affirmation. And then the last one is after sales. We've done it right from the first level to the fourth level, and now we need to get feedback. Some things will go right, some things we may not go right. Then we need testimonials if things have gone right. I was super impressed with, I visited, it's a non-farm company I visited a couple of days ago. And all through their company, they had a QR code about, you just go, click it, and then you can make a complaint, you can give a feedback, you can do all kinds of stuff. And for me, that was so incredible compared to the way in which we used to give feedback in those days, where they will have one box, you will put things inside there, nobody will open that box in months. But this one, they're using technology to be able to do that all of a sudden. You, as a farmer, can do exactly the same thing. Your customers, as soon as they finish purchasing and everything, a pop-up comes on, please rate our performance, rate how you do. And that will guide you, will help you to be able to improve on your services, or at least know what your customers like most in what you do. And then from there can flow some of them that will be willing to give testimonials to you. So these are all technology-based. Before, it wasn't like this. And when you gather this, and you can gather this a lot very quickly, because now data is the new gold. And the minute you're able to gather this data very quickly without necessarily investing human resource into this, that will make a whole lot of difference onto how you move going forward. Now, all through the entire value chain, what is important in everything that I have said is that technology or digitalization must come into play, whether it is low tech, mid tech, or high tech. I have said a few, but there are some that are at the high end. For instance, in the payment system, in the investment process, and so on and so forth. So whether you hear of maybe people like agro partnerships and the rest of them, of course, there are always going to be problems when you enter things like export, and then you get stuck in the ports, and things get really bad. But that's also an environmental factor. If you look at what is happening in Kenya today, Kenya is supplying flowers to Europe. And I find that very interesting because we have very good flowers in Jos. In fact, I could have shown you some of the pictures. But guess what? They can never take it to Europe because it will die at the airport. It will spend days and it will die. But in Nairobi, the process is so fast that within 6 hours, they get the plants in the evening or around night time. By the time it is 5 o'clock in the morning, it's already in Europe and people are buying and everything is moving. So that one is a different level where we have to get to, hopefully. But even within the context of what we have now, we can still manage. I can see that there's going to be a lot of investment in refrigerated trucks, for instance, as we make progress in the digitalization of the agri value chain. Of course, a lot more farmers will benefit from this process. Okay, thank you very much. That's a short briefing, and then we can now take question and answers. Thank you. Over to you, Folake.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bankole. That was very, very enlightening. You see, for sure, farmers lose a lot to wastage, to theft, to post-harvest losses, etc. So definitely we need to have a synergy between the farmers. We need to adopt technology, like you said, across the entire value chain. That process is not negotiable. Now, I was thinking of something when you were speaking. When we look at a farmer, for instance, Nigeria, most of the time, everybody is on his own. So the farmer is the one that will do the production, then the marketing, then the distribution and the logistics, and it can get a bit overwhelming. We do that, and it's quite stressful. So I'm looking at a situation where, or what I think is, we need to begin to synergize. And this is an opportunity for people who want to go into the who want to be in the agricultural value space. They don't have to be, not everybody has to be into production. So these are opportunities for people who want to invest in agri. They can go into distribution, they can go into marketing, they can go into logistics, they can go into any of those areas and take the products from the farmers and manage in those other areas. I think it's an eye-opener, and I thank you very much for that. We'll go into question and answer session. I don't know if we have questions in the chat or if anyone would like to ask a question.
Okay. So let me just quickly collaborate with you a little on what you have just said. While I was visiting the US on this kind of process, one of my alum who had then transited to the US was doing some production in the US. And interestingly, she was in an incubation ecosystem. And so inside this incubation ecosystem, they were able to bring all the big buyers and everything. And they actually made very reasonable contribution to the way in which she ended up product packaging. And she could have made massive mistake if she didn't listen to them, and she might not have been able to sell in those stores if they had not given at that stage. But that was all she needed to do. Once the product was accepted and everything, she never got into marketing, she never got into logistics, she never got into everything. There was a company that comes and say, all you have to do is produce. And once you produce, they just take everything off her, put it in their own storage, and they have their own storage, cold storage, everything. And from there, they move to all parts of the US. And as her products are being moved, she has a tracker, and she can see everywhere on her tracking where all her products are going. And as they make payments, which was on a weekly basis or so, then she gets immediate payments into her own account. And all of that is very transparent. So that freed her from focusing very well on what she could do very well, rather than worrying about all this chain, which I had talked about. That brings efficiency, yes, into the process. You're absolutely correct. And we have to do that even in Nigeria today. Some people will say, you know what? I'm not interested in on-farm, but even in off-farm, let me take the one that people think it is difficult, because I can do it. And once you do it, that's the end of the story. Some people took the one of payments, and today, most of us are better for it. Over to you. I think there is one hand up.
Thank you very much. Yes, Yemi Akinbamijo, I think I'm correct. You have a question, or you'd like to speak?
All right. Well, yeah, I'd like to make a comment. My name is Yemi Akinbamijo. I am the Executive Director of the Forum for Agricultural Research in Africa, based out here in Accra, in Ghana. I was invited to this forum by Dr. Segun Aino, and I very much appreciate listening to what I'm hearing. And I think what I've heard so far is leading in the right direction. I just want to put a few issues on the table, just 3 or 4 elements. And I would want the presenter, who's done a great job in laying out some of the key issues in the modern value chain, to expatiate on them. So when I listen to what has been presented and what I've read about VD&S, if I'm correct, that's how it's said, then I can actually rest easy and say the transformation that we've been looking for in agriculture on the continent is beginning to emerge. But with the emergence of these transformed agricultural system comes risks. And what I have not heard is, how would you manage risks in this kind of production environment, which is also quite capital intensive? What is the role of insurance companies in this whole setup? That's my first element. The second element is, one of the things that I do on a 9-to-5 basis is about the science policy needs us. In other words, what are the kind of, as productivity and production systems emerge, what kind of policies need to be put in place? And I can assure you, you are not the typical farmers when you talk about farmers. So if you are not the typical farmer, what is in there for you in terms of policy orientation that can support this transformation that we are bringing onto the market? And I'd like to see how that can be drilled down a little further based on what kind of work we do on policies. The last point I would like to speak to is about the institutionalization of modern farming outfits like yours. When we speak about farmer organization, trust me, we are not looking out for a farmer who wears who is wearing glasses. We're looking at farmers with calloused hands and that kind of a setting. But you need to be institutionalized to be able to take advantage of what policies and what institutional support and frames that can really be put at your disposal to enhance this transformation that we're bringing on board. So these are the few issues that I would like to speak to for now. And thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Yemi. And indeed, you know, I'm happy that you're able to join us from Ghana. You see, that is also the beginning of that transformation we're about to see. It is not unusual. If you look across Africa today, some countries are able to produce some crops or products or livestock better than the other. And with the ACTA, the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, we should. Hello, somebody is, can we mute the. Okay, sorry, I too was muted. So it is very important for us to begin to think in this direction because it's going to happen, all right? And so if, for instance, in Burkina Faso, they're able to produce X product better than everybody else, then it means they will have comparative advantage over the rest of us in Africa. Why can't we then allow them to be able to do the best and go around? No problem. If they do better than us in one aspect, then we will do better in another aspect. And then that is where you get that competition, healthy competition. And when we do that, we will be better for it as a continent and also as a country. But I like the issue of policies which you have brought into it, because policy helps us to set up the framework which we all interact and work with each other. One thing that I will say is that policies in most cases have been driven from the top, in most cases. But if we have very vibrant ecosystems like this, when policies is about to be done, we should be invited. And so, yes, you talk about farmers not wearing glasses. I'm sorry, I'm wearing one, so I hope it's because you are not wearing one yourself. But really, we need to get people who can help articulate better the case for the farmers, much more than they can do. And that person, interestingly, will also be farmer. I know that Folaka is one. She has vast experience in many areas, and somebody that can then articulate very well. In the academic institution, we call it empirical data. All of these things that we are doing, if they are well stored, they are part of the empirical formula, database that can be used as evidence while we are doing this kind of advocacy or we are looking at policy articulation. So I believe we need more organizations or associations like VD&S. That way, all of these people will come together to be able to be the one that will set the policies from grounds up. And then the regulators or whatever, the government can then help to adjust it. The final point, which was the first one you raised, is the issue of risk. And I do agree with you 100%. The risks are many. I only talk about the risk of the middleman, the one the middleman takes off. But something as simple, in quote, moving your product from here to Kaduna or vice versa, that's a major risk on the road today, at least in Nigeria. Moving your product across borders is even worse. So all these risks, they more or less don't exist in advanced countries because people understand the need for making sure that all of those things work very well. And I tell you, most of those trucks, they
I think Mr. Bankole is having some challenges with his internet. We'll just give him a minute to come back on.
Sorry, I was temporarily knocked out. That's part of the risk we enjoy in Nigeria as well from the infrastructural point of view. So insurance is very important. In advanced countries, you will see that a lot of people in certain space, insurance is basic. You cannot open a restaurant without insuring because people can come there, they can fall, anything can happen. So you must have one insurance around, people in public spaces. The second and the more important one is around food safety. Somebody cannot come to your restaurant and they have food poisoning and things like that. Although you will go through certification and all of that, but you cannot open your restaurant without an insurance on those ones. And so you will see that insurance people then have enough deposit to be able to take on those risks. We do not have that, but with the right policies, yes, we probably will be able to do that going forward. But thanks a lot, Yemi. And I will say to VD&S, please take these points as well on board. It's something that you want to also walk through in the future. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Mogaji is raising up his hand. Do you have a question or a comment before we go into the questions on the chat?
Okay, I do have a question, but I will want to need your indulgence to allow me to speak in Pidgin English so that
please go ahead. I understand you very well. No problem.
Properly.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Now, my point with this, most of the government policies that has to do with improving agricultural activity is just limited to people who get direct information. So how do we create a platform where farmers ordinarily can get information on government activities, government policy, government interest, the things that the government is doing to benefit the common farmers? That's number one. Number two, how we fit take the preserve our commodities, because most of our commodities are perishables. How we fit take the preserve them so that at least between the period of harvest and the time we'll take it to the market and the time we'll be able to sell it, we'll still be able to have value for our money, because sometimes you are forced to just sell off your product to avoid it being it being perished, so to speak. So what can we do as farmers so that we can preserve our commodities and then we can be able to sell it at a more convenient time? And then how can we bridge the gap so that the ordinary farmer can have information that is available to farmers? Because most times this information are just stuck within those people who probably are not farmers, or probably are just farmers on paper. They really don't have the farm, so to speak. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I will just, Mogaji, and I will just address that very quickly. There again, it's about technology. Today, we have something called IVR, Interactive Voice Response. And interactive voice response, we're using it in training people that do not have access to smartphones. It's just the normal, what you people call pure water phone, you know. So, and this phone is purely voice. And what we do is that without voice control, which is interactive, you can listen to messages. So information, so like if you want to know where waiting government talk today, press 1. If you want to know something, press 2. If your chicken, they misbehave anyhow, press 3 for help. We can program all of that. And for a very small subscription, people can have access. In our own case, our recipients are paying 500 Naira in a month to be able to have access to this. And so somebody can break this down. And we are communicating with our recipients in 5 different languages also: English, Pidgin, Igbo, Hausa, and Yoruba today. So it's possible. And because the platform is already there, it's just for you. If you want to hear it in Hausa, press 1. The telcos are already doing all of these things. So it's just for organizations, maybe like VD&S, to invest in something like this. And before you know it, it is true. Not everybody will have access to internet like this. Not everybody will have access to smartphone, but everybody can still have access to information. And we're already doing it across Nigeria today, so I know it is possible. Now, on the second one, around the issue of products getting spoiled, I thought I addressed it in my presentation. So you have organizations like Cold Hub. They mostly sit at the market level, but I don't see any reason why they cannot also sit, if there is reason for it, at the farm level, because there are three broad milestones. One is at the farm level, the other one is during on the road, and the third one is at the market level. And if they are not even interested, somebody else can be interested. It's just for us to know. I know that if you are doing, for instance, cassava, if you do not do something within 24 hours or 48 hours, you lost it. Somebody will come and say, let me invest in that 48 hours so that I can catch that. And then if it is fish, for instance, you can decide that you can preserve it through smoking. So there are many ways in which we can get into all of this, but we have to think carefully about it, whether it is livestock, whether it is crop, and so on and so forth. But it is possible.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bankole. For everyone who would like to get a copy, the recording of this webinar, please send us your email address. We will definitely send it to you by email. I think with your last comment, you may have answered the question by, hold on a minute, by Heavenly Dew, Taiwa Deleye, who says he's concerned about wastage on his farm and is willing to put investments in storage. What would be your advice for him? You mentioned Cold Hub. I don't know if you have any other advice for him on that. Mr. Bankole? I think his network is fluctuating again. So we'll just give him a minute. So, did you hear my question, Mr. Bankole?
No, I did not. Sorry, I did not.
Okay, you talked about cold storage, and we have Ms. Taiwa Deleye asking what you can advise him to do. He says he's concerned about wastage on his farm, and he's willing to invest in storage. So do you have any other advice for him? You had mentioned cold hub.
Yeah, cold hub is one, but beyond him, there are quite a few. I think what we can do is that you and I can get together and look at all the other possibilities since they are on your this thing. But apart from that, this is also something we can get our people to hack. I can tell you that in the last 2 years, we have been running competition known as AgroHack. And we have seen people that comes and they say, we have a solution for this type of thing. So we can throw it out and say, can you hack this challenge for us? And we do give them returns based on a winning or innovative solution.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. I will take this up with you, and we'll get back to the farmers on this. So there's a question from Olubisi. How do farmers invest in technology considering the cost? Can they partner with technology companies? How can they go about this? I got a similar question also privately.
Okay. Well, sorry, I need to jump onto another this thing. It's really, I thought I would finish by 6. It's really tight for me now. But I would say going into, it's an investment, and investment does not have color or regards or anything. Once there is a business case, people will go into it. They will go into it. And what we have seen in recent times is that what we just have to do is to articulate very well the business model for whatever we are doing. If we're able to articulate it very well and the businessman can see that if I put X amount into it, I will come out with my money, but also with some level of profit, they will go into it. Yes, you can collaborate with them. And there are people that they focus on investing only in agricultural products. So again, we can look for those type of people to collaborate with you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Bankole, you had said that you have another program, and we have many questions for you, unfortunately, but I think we need to let you go. Are you still on, Mr. Bankole? Okay, he had actually said that he has another program that he needs to get onto. So if we have other questions for him, we can put them together and we will get across to you by email. There's a comment by Mr. Yemi Akimbamijo again. He says at the continental level, there's a facility that is open to all farmers, agricultural risk management based in South Africa. But it is a facility with a continent-wide mandate. How well sensitized are you on agricultural insurance tools and mechanisms? FARA may help. Okay, we can look at that. I will contact you, Mr. Yemi, then I think we can discuss about FARA and your offerings for farmers. So Mr. Oluwaseun Gideon, it says, thank you, VD&S. I think the next stage will be to look at challenges faced by different sectors of farming and train or engage farmers or group of farmers on how to use simple and available technology to solve these problems. Okay, Mr. Gideon, this is noted. We will come up with something on the technology part. Shall I go? the best ways I think post-harvest loss can be reduced is for farmers to think of adding value to the products at the initial plan of this agribusiness. You are absolutely correct. And we keep telling farmers to see how they can add value to their products so that they don't lose completely. Okay. Thank you, T. We appreciate you too, and we thank Mr. Bankole. Is it possible to install solar CCTV on my farm? Umokedi Chikodili. Yes, it is possible. You can install CCTV on your farm, solar CCTV on your farm. We're installing those on our farms currently. Are there tech companies here that seek people to invest in what they do? I don't know if there's any tech company that is online at this webinar who would like to, but we can inquire about that. Mr. Akimbamijo, did you want to say something, or you have not lowered your hand from the last time you spoke?
Oh, okay. Well, I was going to make a point on the issue of the post-harvest losses that somebody raised. And just to put it very, very succinctly, the issue of managing post-harvest loss is a function of push and pull. The farmer pushes, the market pulls. And I think it was Mr. Aguro who mentioned something about prospecting for buyers before you go to plant. And that is the way to go. I always say that if you go to a KFC restaurant today, the chicken you buy in that restaurant was bought and sold a year ago, even before that chicken, the egg was laid. So what is the essence of? The essence of that is that there is something called futures. That means that you don't put your seed in the soil until you have a demand. But we don't have it all set out in the Nigerian context, but that can be done, that can be achieved with sort of farmers like VD&S. You've got to stimulate the pull end. For instance, get people, like you've brought people to this platform, set up a platform for prospective buyers of agricultural produce. And let's create a kind of a produce calendar. Who needs what at what and where? Who needs what and when? And then you kind of do a cross-matching, set up contracts for producers and the suppliers and the buyers. But right now, people produce waiting for who will buy. And people buy just looking, going straight out and checking whatever I find in the market is what I bring home. That is a total chaotic way of marketing. And I think there are tools that are on ground. There are already tools that are mature that we can use and leverage on those technologies to kind of help with dealing with issues of post-harvest losses. Post-harvest losses shouldn't be a big problem in the Nigeria of today if we leverage on the powers of technology. And I've already put my email address across to you, Folake, and I'll be more than happy to engage with you further on this initiative. So that's all I want to put on the table for now. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I have seen your email address. I would definitely contact you. Thank you. So for everyone who would like a recording, who would like to get a recording of this webinar, please send your email address and we will send it to you ASAP. So we have taken Taiwo's question on the tech. We will investigate and get back to you. We talked about the installation of solar CCTV on your farm. Yes, it is possible. And yeah, I think that's all the questions. I saw a question on, I think it was by Taiwo. Who talked about, okay, no, Shola, government agricultural policies and programs in Nigeria has a lot of hosts. Please, can you mute? Thank you. Government agricultural policies and programs in Nigeria has a lot of bottlenecks and probably segregated. Oh yeah. I don't think I see the question anymore. Okay, so people are asking about the offerings of a Pan-African University. Just send us your email address. I will send these questions to Mr. Bankole, and once he responds, we will put it on our email for everyone to see. Okay, so okay, so I think, I don't know if anyone has any other comment. Abel, you are raising up your hand. Would you like to speak? Abel Okechukwu, do you have a comment? Would you like to speak? Host, you can unmute Abel. Host, can you unmute Abel? Okay, so I think, oh yes, we can hear you.
Okay, good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, I want to appreciate VD&S for this wonderful webinar. I want to appreciate Mr. Bankole for the wealth of knowledge he has shared on this platform. My name is Abel Okechukwu. I am the MD CEO of Invest Agro Limited, Abuja. I'm also the National Secretary of Organic Fertilizer Producers and Suppliers Association of Nigeria. My concern, anytime we talk about agricultural production in Nigeria, is about food safety. Not just food security, but food safety. How safe is our food? Because right now in this country, we have high incidence of terminal diseases, kidney failure, liver failure, skin cancer, heart failure, all as a result of what we eat, because we no longer eat safe food. Most of our agricultural production is done by the use of chemicals. So we at OFSAN, Organic Fertilizer Producers Association of Nigeria, we advocate the use of organic inputs in agricultural production, organic input in crop production, organic input in livestock, organic input in fishery and aquaculture. So I want to advocate and I want to beg every one of us as farmers, as people who produce the food we eat, to begin to embrace organic farming, or what someone may call integrated farming, where you use the waste from your livestock to do your crop, and then you use the waste from your crop to do your livestock. That's integrated farming. Or where you use organic inputs. There are many of organic inputs, organic fertilizers, organic herbicide, pesticide, insecticide, organic soil enhancers. This will go a long way in promoting our national health. You see the kind of money we waste on medical tourism. This as a result of the food we eat. So I am here to advocate for organic farming, integrated farming. Thank you. God bless us all.
Amen. Thank you, Mr. Abel. And thank you, Professor Nkweru. We have seen your message and we have your email address. We will send you the recording so you can ask your questions afterwards. At this point, I would like to call it a day. And on behalf of VD&S Farmers Center, we say a big thank you to our guest speaker, Mr. Peter Bankole, for creating time out of his extremely busy schedule. Mr. Bankole is very, very busy. We thank him for giving us the time and for sharing his very enlightening and highly valuable insights on the use of technology for maximum returns in agriculture. We are very grateful. Thank you, Mr. Bankole. We appreciate our sponsor, Know Your Farm Hands, and we say a very big thank you to you, great farmers and prospective farmers, and all of you who have set out time to attend today's webinar. At VD&S Farmer Center, our aim is to positively impact farmers' lives and businesses, and we trust we have been able to add value to you. For further questions and other clarification, please contact us at info@vdsfarmsonline.com. That's info@vdsfarmsonline.com. We have these webinars every month. The next one is coming up next month. If you would like to be a part of that, or you would like to get an invitation, please send your email via chat and we will send you the invitation for next month's webinar. Thank you and God bless.
Shey you dey face wahala to hire farm hand wey dey reliable and hardworking? Shey you dey face yawa of steal from the people dem wey dey work for you? Shey the profit wey you dey make now no reach wetin you suppose dey make because people wey dey work for you no dey honest, dem no just send you? We don carry Know Your Farm Hands come. Make you download Know Your Farm Hands app from Play Store on top your Android device, come start to dey register your farm hands for free. If you don register on this app, you go fit verify the worker wey you get mind to hire to work on top your farm. Because farmers wey be like you don add each farm hand on top there and dem don talk wetin dem know about dem for there sef. The only thing wey you need to do na to put your information for there, open account, then just log inside the app. After that, if you click for the corner wey dey the bottom left, you go fit search for the farm hand wey you wan hire with their names, email and phone number until you see the farm hand wey you dey find. Farmers wey don work with the worker wey you get for mind to hire go flag them and then give you information as per the experience wey dem get with them. Make you sef register your own farm hands on top the app and you fit come carry their fingerprints put for there. Yes, this one go be like unique identification for each farm hand. Immediately dem don dey registered, just click on top flag to talk wetin you know about them. If you need help as you dey do all of this, just send email to support@knowyourfarmhands.ng abi make you phone 0705 3680 191 or 0809 091 5139. Sabi your farm hands make you for free from stress.